Good afternoon on what is a slightly chilly, blustery and definitely overcast day. It is Thursday the 28th of October and I'm back in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and something from Free RPG Day. Now, Free RPG Day took place on Saturday the 16th of October at your friendly local gaming store, and I hope you were able to get there to find something interesting from the wide array of titles that were available on the day. And if not, hopefully you'll be able to download them and have a look at them at your leisure coming next month. And of course, if you don't have a friendly local gaming store, I do hope you've got a store which you patronise, because plenty of stores do mail order and they're very good at it. Leisure Games or Fanboy 3, for example. Fanboy 3 in particular, because without the help of David Salisbury there, I would not have these Free RPG Day titles to provide an overview of and do a subsequent review of. So I want to thank him and his colleagues for helping me out and get hold of all of these titles to review. So today's one is Fabula Ultima TTJRPG. Press start. Okay. Now let me see. TTJRPG stands for Tabletop Japanese Role-Playing Game. Now, on the whole, we don't get to see a lot of the Japanese role-playing games translated into English. There have been a couple, of which Made is one, and that's bonkers, and very much sort of like in the style of a manga or anime cartoon. But there are others as well, but they really only have Ryutiyama is another one that is in that style as well. That's a storytelling game, but specifically very few get actually translated into English and made available to the wider market, whereas some role-playing games from the English-speaking market do get translated over into Japanese. For example, Call of Cthulhu, which is incredibly popular over there in comparison to other translated role-playing games. But anyway, this is your world, this is your story. Make your choice and fight for what you believe in. Fabula Ultima is a tabletop role-playing game inspired by Japanese role-playing games, or specifically the Japanese video game RPGs. In Fabula Ultima, you and your friends will tell epic stories of aspiring heroes and fearsome villains set on a fantasy world brimming with magic, wondrous places and uniquely bizarre monsters. Press start is Fabula Ultima's ready-to-play introductory scenario, a complete tutorial that will plunge you into the tale of bravery and memorable characters. All you need is the courage to fight for what you hold most dear. So this is from Need Games and Rooster Games. Basically very plain, simple blurb on the back. Really nice piece of artwork on the front there. I really like that. And this comes in sort of like in the digest size, where a lot of the releases for Free RPG Day were full letter size books. And inside, essentially, it explains it's a tabletop role-playing game designed to recreate the wondrous worlds and characters and stories seen in console video games like the Bravely Default series, Kingdom Hearts, Osteopath Traveler, and the legendary Final Fantasy series, also known as Japanese console role-playing games. It uses all the polyhedral dice, well, most of them anyway. So here we go, basic explanation, nice bit of illustration, an explanation of what a role-playing game is, and how you role-play, and why you need the rules. And then we get into the setup, essentially of game master, players, and the four player characters you've got. So you've got a princess who can support her allies in battle. Basically, a captain of the Skyrider force and a master of spear combat, a legendary inventor, and another princess who is able to channel her life force into a massive greatsword. Okay, and the other thing is about this, so we've got that as well. So basically, quick explanation of who the characters are, and then we've got that locked symbol at the bottom. So that says when you see this icon on your sheet, it means that this is part of your character is locked until you reach the listed scene. Don't look at it before that moment. So let's just check. So you will see what's interesting here is when you look at the character sheet, every section has one of those symbols, each one different number. So in scene 1, you're just looking at that. Don't look at anything else, just that. And then when you get to scene 2, then you look at that. Okay, I shouldn't be looking at it right now, but I'm going to show you anyway, and so on, all the way up to basically scene 8, which is there. So it's almost like it's a programmed learning in the sense of, okay, each scene unlocks the next step in you learning to play this game, which is kind of odd, which is kind of cool, but at the same time you're kind of going, I don't know about that about my character. I can't read that yet. You know, all I know about my character right now are my attributes and status effects. Okay. So yeah, it does that with each of the characters. So you can see, there's the young lady with her giant greatsword. Okay, and then we get into the actual scene. Where there's a lot of programmed sort of like gaming here. You do this, do that sort of thing. You know, so Game Master address the group and read the following aloud. Then you read basically so essentially there, read that aloud, and then the next instructions follow. Do this, and so on all the way through. That's fine. Essentially, you are explaining how the system works, so. So yeah, I think that essentially it mixes the adventure with the learning of the system. That's quite neat. I don't know whether that wouldn't be quite stilted in play as such. Obviously, if you're running it, you'd probably be a bit more flexible. You know, saying okay, because the GM would have read through this earlier and prepared. But in fact, what you could actually do just from this, if you essentially, you could actually probably just scan this if you've got a quick eye and run it straight from the page. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's a possibility with this kind of step-by-step programmed learning of the system. So then it explains the selection of traits and bonds, so which is unlocked in section 2. And then essentially we've got a new scene, unlocked scene 3, and this deals with the shadows, and so on and so on. We're going through till we get to let's have a look. Traits and bonds and scene. This is still scene 2. So where are we? Okay, yeah. Sorry, shadows won't fit back. And then the descent into the adventure proper itself, scene 4. And there's a fair bit of the reuse of the artwork, but that's fine. It's nice artwork, and it's taking you through scene by scene. And when we get scene 5, we have combat. So this will obviously refer back to, let's have a look at sheets, where we have referring to equipment, and basically it's referring to the equipment there, and then sort of like your combat stats in the corner there. And then for the battle information, we've got so essentially the enemy that the characters are facing, and you can almost sort of like imagine this as sort of like the 4 characters sort of all standing in a line, you know, and with the enemies on the other side. If we look at the enemies, just to show you what they look like, okay. And the enemy in a line on the side, and essentially somebody with the console going da, 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 you know, essentially that kind of thing, or basically the you know, the music you would get for that sort of scene. And scene 6 is let's have a look. Is inventory points, and you get to, I think that's essentially that's where you get to buy something and use some stuff from your gear. And interact with basically someone else. Then we've got scene 7, an interlude, and what does that unlock? Let's have a look. Essentially, that's another inventory section, I think, and introduces the concept of Fabula points, which can be used to alter the story, engage in opportunities, and so on. I don't know what they are, but let's have a look. Basically, when a character scores critical success, there is an opportunity. You may spend it for a powerful effect. such as giving your allies a +4 bonus, or inflicting a status effect like dazed, shaken, slowed, or weakened, and all the way through, right through to get to the final battle, section 8. So there is everything there, and you're facing, at this point, you are facing elite enemies. Okay, and then we get to section 9, and there isn't an extra section on the character sheet for that, but that's the conclusion. So yeah, there is a definite sense of progression and step-by-step learning in here. And of course, if it doesn't end with the Final Fantasy battle flourish, then at least it has the classic sort of like graphic user interface that you find on a lot of Japanese console role-playing games. Though technically that shouldn't be in green; it should really be in blue to be the right kind of Japanese console game. Yeah, so that's Fabula Ultima, which I think is going to be interesting to look at, and certainly be interesting to see what the full rulebook is like. And you can get basically free download content is there, but there's the core book. This is just the introduction, available for a free RPG day. But as I say, this will be interesting to review. It's coming. I will do a review on my blog in due course. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching another basically unboxing and overview here in the Nook. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do click that like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you posting those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more videos from me, whether that's a standard unboxing of a package like this, or an overview of an RPG now title like this, and which way you will see me back here in the Nook, essentially talking about something I've got or unboxed to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all accompanied of course by a nice hot cup of tea and occasionally a cat, then please do hit that subscribe button. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.